Hello everyone, my name is Nancy, and at 38, I've lived a life with a relatively small family circle. This made attending large gatherings quite rare, so marrying my husband Charles brought new experiences, including attending his large family events. The first of these was a grand family reunion. The venue buzzed with over 210 relatives enjoying the festivities, surrounded by lively music and joyous conversations. This was a common celebration for Charles, whose family tree is expansive. For me, it was a novel and overwhelming experience. Charles's family was grandly marking this reunion, an occasion meant for meeting distant relatives and enjoying an array of delicious dishes. However, what was intended as a joyous day soon turned into an ordeal for me. My mother-in-law, Amy, has always been a thorn in my side, treating me with disdain under the false belief that I was infertile, a misconception that deeply hurt me. My path to motherhood has been anything but straightforward, marred by numerous doctor visits, emotional ups and downs, and repeated disappointments. During the reunion, Amy confronted me with hurtful remarks about my supposed inability to conceive, cloaked in feigned concern. She blurted out in front of others, "Nancy, my dear, still no pregnancy? You should hurry, you're not getting any younger. Oh, wait, you're infertile, what a shame. I wish my son had married someone capable of having children." Her words stung sharply. I was shocked at her blatant cruelty and asked her to repeat her words, not fully believing what I had heard. Adding insult to injury, Amy wasn't satisfied with just a private confrontation. Seizing the opportunity presented by the loud gathering, she approached the DJ and asked to use his microphone. The music dimmed and a hush fell over the crowd as she prepared to broadcast my personal struggles to everyone present. I felt a deep, sinking dread about what she would say next, knowing that the entire assembly of Charles's family was now tuned in, awaiting her next words. I never intended to create a scene, but as the events unfolded, I realized this could serve as a learning moment for everyone involved, reminding us of the value of sensitivity in a family setting. Charles, my husband, was mingling with relatives when he sensed trouble brewing from afar. His mother, known for lacking tact, had seized the microphone at the family reunion. Aware of her tendency to speak ill, especially about me, he hurried towards the DJ booth. However, distance was not in his favor, and he couldn't reach her in time. With the microphone in hand, my mother-in-law began, "If you look over at Nancy, you'll notice she isn't pregnant, nor has she been in the 7 years she and Charles have been married. Shocking, isn't it? But it's not her fault. She is infertile." Charles tried to interject, shouting, "Mom, that's enough!" But his voice was swallowed by the crowd, powerless against the amplified sound of the microphone. Undeterred, she continued, "Don't worry, Charles, this is a teachable moment. Nancy, I know it's hard, but you need to hear this. You are infertile, and by not resolving this, you're wasting everyone's time. We're all aging, and I want grandchildren. Maybe it's time you considered a surrogate, or even a divorce." The words stung deeply, and I stood frozen, my cheeks burning hotter than any dish at the buffet. Around me, a sea of faces turned my way, some disgusted, others sympathetic, and many visibly uncomfortable sharing in my embarrassment. "Seriously, Nancy, think about addressing your infertility. It's quite selfish and frankly embarrassing. I want a grandchild," she persisted before Charles finally managed to reach her and cut her off. At that moment, rooted to the spot, I felt as if I were encased in ice, with countless pairs of eyes fixed on me. The earth couldn't swallow me fast enough. Despite Charles's intervention, the harm was already done. The varied expressions of contempt, pity, and shared embarrassment from the crowd were almost too much to bear. For someone who detests pity, this was the ultimate ordeal. Feeling utterly helpless is not something I'm used to. I'm normally quite outspoken, but I found myself silenced under the watchful eyes of an entire family gathering. The DJ, noticing the tension, attempted to lift the mood and get the party going again, but the atmosphere had irreversibly shifted. While some guests resumed their festivities, whispers spread like wildfire. I knew this debacle would be the main gossip in family discussions for weeks. Overwhelmed, I did what seemed the only viable option at the moment. I ran. The feeling of being an outsider, unloved and scrutinized, was too much as I saw Charles and his mother, Amy, heatedly discussing the event. I dashed inside the house and locked myself in the nearest bathroom, where I broke down and wept. After what seemed an eternity, I heard a knock. It was Charles. His first words upon seeing my tear-streaked face were, "I swear to God, after today, I'm never speaking to that woman again." "But Charles, you can't just cut off your mother," I responded, even though a part of me wished he could. "Yeah, well, she's also a bully," he retorted, his frustration evident. Feeling utterly defeated, I confessed, "I can't ever show my face here again." Charles, always my protector, quickly said, "We can leave right now if you want. Just say the word and we're out of here." But leaving felt like giving up, and I wasn't ready to admit defeat just yet. "What did you say to her?" I asked, curious about how he had defended us. Charles recounted how he had confronted his mother about her cruel words and inappropriate behavior. "Why would she even say something like that? We don't even know half of the people here," he questioned, still in disbelief. "I know, love," he continued, his voice softening. "I've let her walk over you for too long. I'm sorry it got to this point." We embraced, and I continued to cry in his arms. This was why I cherished Charles so deeply. Having been taught during my childhood to always be strong and hold back tears, Charles was always there to catch them and offer consolation. Pulling back slightly, I looked up at him. His warm brown eyes met mine, reinforcing my love for him all over again. This moment, despite the chaos, reminded me of the strength we shared. Despite the tears still streaking down my face, I managed a weak smile, seeking solace in a happier memory. "Do you remember how we first met?" I asked Charles, hoping to distract myself from the recent embarrassment. Charles chuckled, his eyes lighting up with the recollection. "Of course I do. How could I forget? It was a perfect day." I laughed too. The memory was vivid in my mind. We were both at the university library, vying for the last available power outlet. What started as a minor squabble turned into a deep and engaging conversation that lasted for hours. By the time we parted, we had exchanged numbers, and as they say, the rest is history. "I love you so much, Charles," I said, feeling a surge of affection for him. "I love you too, Nancy, more than anything in this world. And if you want to leave this party, just let me know. It's pretty much over after what my mother did," he replied, his voice firm yet caring. "Charles, do you remember when we found out?" I prompted, changing the subject to something more personal. He nodded, a serious expression crossing his face. "Yes, I remember. We were trying so hard, and I secretly feared it might be me with the issue. But when we learned it was actually you who was infertile, it felt even more heartbreaking. I could have handled it if it were me, but not you. You're just so perfect. I never expected it or wanted that for you. I'm so sorry." "I know, babe, it was a tough time for both of us, but we got through it together, and we'll get through this too," I reassured him, feeling the strength of our bond. Charles's smile returned, filled with love and reassurance. "We're in this together, no matter what life throws at us," he affirmed. Maybe I should tell her the truth, I mused aloud, though the thought of confronting his mother was daunting. Charles shook his head gently. "Nancy, you know my mom. Even if you had been upfront from the beginning, she probably would have found another way to cause trouble. It's not your fault she harbors so much resentment about us not having kids yet. And honestly, she wrongly assumes it's your fault, which isn't fair to you." "Don't beat yourself up over this, Charles. "It's okay. I can handle her disdain," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos of emotions inside me. As we spoke, I realized how deeply connected and resilient our relationship was, even in the face of adversity. Charles's unwavering support was a constant reminder of why I loved him so deeply. We were a team, ready to face whatever challenges came our way, together. I couldn't bear the thought of Charles's mother disliking him just because of his infertility, especially given her obsession with continuing the family bloodline. "It's true," Charles agreed, his tone a mix of annoyance and humor. "She did invite 210 people to this reunion, which, now that I think about it, is pretty excessive. But no, I'm not going to let that stand," he said decisively, a spark of resolve in his eyes. Before I could even ask where he was heading, he released my hand and left the bathroom. Alone with my thoughts, I decided to stay put as he suggested, overwhelmed by the day's events. After about 12 minutes, just as I was imagining Charles making a dramatic scene or some grand declaration to the family, he returned, much to my relief. "Thank goodness," I sighed, half joking. "I thought you were out there doing something drastic. I was ready to run out and stop you." "You might still want to stop me, but I won't let you," Charles replied with a wry smile, his hands holding a stack of papers. "What are these?" I asked, a wave of apprehension washing over me. "These are my infertility test results, along with your high fertility results. I printed them out earlier at the library," he explained. My heart sank. How could he have taken such a step without discussing it with me first? And now he wanted me to show them to his mother? I couldn't just expose him like that, not in front of everyone. "I can't do that, Charles. I told you I can't just show these to her," I protested. "But Nancy, she humiliated you in front of everyone. She deserves to be put in her place. She'll be embarrassed because of how wrong she was," Charles argued, his voice firm yet pleading. "I know, but I just can't do it. It's not fair to you," I insisted, feeling torn between defending our dignity and protecting Charles's privacy. "I don't care about that," Charles reassured me, his gaze intense. "Being infertile is nothing to be embarrassed about, even though it's so heavily stigmatized. There are ways to address it, babe, and I think I'm ready to face these challenges head on." His words hinted at a readiness to explore other options. "I think we should look into alternative methods of conceiving," he suggested gently, his demeanor calm yet determined. Looking up at him, I was overwhelmed by his love and selflessness. How could he be so willing to put himself out there, ready to tackle his condition and explore solutions? For so long, infertility had been a sensitive topic for us. But now, as I gazed into his loving eyes, filled with resolve and compassion, I felt a new wave of hope and admiration for the man I loved. We were in this together, ready to face whatever came our way. Witnessing Charles's journey of healing and growth brought us to this pivotal moment of clarity and compassion, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was about more than just confronting an issue. It was about the respect I'd never received from his mother. "She's never really tried to understand me, Charles. Instead, she's turned my infertility into a cruel joke," I confided, the hurt evident in my voice. Charles wrapped his arm around me, pulling me closer for reassurance. "I know, Nancy, that's exactly why we need to do this, to stand up for ourselves and show her that we won't be pushed around anymore." Fortified by his support, I nodded. "Okay, let's do it." We stepped outside to rejoin the party. To the casual observer, it seemed as though the festivities had smoothly resumed, but we knew that more drama was about to unfold. I gave Charles a questioning look. "Are you sure?" He responded not with words, but by leading me to the DJ booth, the very place of my earlier humiliation. Charles took the microphone and immediately captured everyone's attention. "Attention, everyone, we have something important to say." The crowd, now attuned for a second time to the commanding voice over the speakers, turned their heads in anticipation. Earlier today, my wife was unfairly and rudely attacked for no good reason. Now she wants to share her side of the story," Charles announced, then handed the microphone to me. As I took the mic, my heart pounded in my chest. Scanning the crowd, my gaze locked onto one particularly glaring set of eyes. Amy's. She looked at me with disdain, and as I began to speak, she started making her way towards the booth. "Hello, everyone. As you may or may not know, I'm Charles's wife, and Amy is my mother-in-law," I started, my voice steady despite the approaching figure of Amy. Just as I was about to delve into the hurtful remarks, Amy neared, interrupting, "That's enough." But instead of fear, a wave of confidence surged through me, amplified by my growing frustration with her constant disrespect. "You will not interrupt me while I speak. I gave you a chance to speak and now it's my turn," I declared, surprising even myself with my newfound assertiveness. Taken aback by my firmness, Amy fell silent. "Thank you," I continued. "As I was saying, I need not repeat the exact words said about me. It's not just about what was spoken. It's about respect, understanding, and family, values we should all hold dear. Today, I stand here not to shame anyone, but to assert that respect and empathy should never be conditional, nor should anyone in this family feel less than me. We are here to support each other, not to tear each other down." The crowd listened, some nodding in agreement as I shared not just my grievances, but a message of unity and respect, hoping it would resonate not just with Amy, but with everyone present. As someone who values truth highly, I felt compelled to correct the false information spreading about me and my family, even though it involved very personal details. Facing Amy directly, I took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "You seem to think I'm infertile and unable to have a baby. Let me clarify the real situation. It's your son, Charles, who is infertile. Here are the documents to prove it." Charles handed the documents to a stunned Amy while whispers and gasps spread through the crowd. I glanced at Charles, concerned about how he was handling this revelation in public. To my relief, he was smiling, almost amused by the shock on everyone's faces, especially his mother's. The silence that followed was palpable, with all eyes fixed on us. Amy's face lost color, shock etching her features deeply. "What are you talking about? This can't be true," she stammered, disbelief clouding her voice. "But it is true. And what's more, I am the one with a high fertility rate," I added, which only intensified the murmurs and gasps around us. The scene felt like something out of a dramatic movie. Stammering, Amy turned to Charles. "I don't even know what to say. Charles, why didn't you tell me about this?" Charles's response was calm but firm. "Maybe because I wasn't ready. Infertility can be a sensitive topic, and I know you wouldn't have treated me this way if I were in that position, but trying to embarrass Nancy in front of everyone like that, that's not something I can just overlook. I had to set the record straight." "I'm so sorry, Charles," Amy murmured, her voice small. "Don't apologize to me," Charles replied sternly. "Apologize to Nancy." It seemed almost impossible for Amy to utter an apology, as if Charles had asked her to perform a monumental task. Sensing her hesitation, Charles took the microphone from me and began to chant, "Apologize." Soon the crowd picked up the chant, their voices growing louder, echoing Charles's demand. Despite the overwhelming pressure from the family, Amy's pride held strong. "I'll do no such thing," she declared defiantly. "She doesn't deserve it. Even if I was wrong about the fertility issue, why didn't she clear the air sooner? She's the one trying to embarrass me now." The crowd's reaction turned from shock to disdain, booing Amy as if she were a performer who had failed on stage. Feeling the weight of public judgment, Amy retreated into the house, attempting to escape the escalating situation. But the story didn't end there, folks. As the festivities resumed, Amy retreated to her room for the duration of the event, and despite several relatives' attempts to coax her out, she remained isolated, her pride too stubborn to allow reconciliation. This left a distinctly bitter taste among the attendees. Yet, the reunion carried on joyfully. Numerous family members, both immediate and extended, approached Charles and me, commending our courage. Many expressed relief that someone had finally stood up to Amy, and others were surprised to learn the extent of her vindictiveness. By the evening's end, the reunion felt like a true gathering of a close-knit family, and I was thankful for the renewed bonds. However, the aftermath of the day was exhausting. The next morning, we received a call from one of Charles's aunts informing us that the family had decided not to invite Amy to future gatherings unless she apologized. They also advised us to keep our distance until she could mature and take responsibility for her actions. I wholeheartedly agreed, eager to avoid any more of her harsh words. The family's decision was not entirely surprising given Amy's stubborn nature, but it was still shocking to realize that our family was now officially divided because of her persistent animosity toward me. Charles and I took some time to reflect on the situation. We agreed that we couldn't continue to enable Amy's toxic behavior by merely standing by. It was essential for our mental health and our future to make a decisive break from the drama. As we planned to start a family and begin a new chapter, we knew we had to focus on creating a positive and healthy environment. So, we bid farewell to Amy without any regrets. Charles sent her a heartfelt voicemail, and I followed up with an email, both expressing that while we would love for her to be part of our lives, we could not tolerate negativity and toxicity. Unsurprisingly, she never responded. It became clear that her pride was more important to her than maintaining a relationship with her potential grandchildren. Good riddance to bad rubbish, as the saying goes. We were better off without that negativity. Still, beneath the relief and resolve, I sensed a touch of sadness, especially for Charles. Despite everything, Amy was still his mother, and it pained him to see their relationship crumble under such circumstances. I once held hopes that Amy and I could eventually forge a close bond, but it appears that dream will remain unfulfilled. As for how Amy is faring now, I genuinely have no idea, nor do I harbor any concern about it. What remains indelibly marked in my memory, however, is the day of the reunion, the day I vowed never to let anyone belittle me again. That experience taught me the importance of standing strong in my self-worth, a lesson I'll carry with me always.